And that was the big epic entrance from none other than Lord Gravemaster himself. Hello, dear.
Hello.
It's a little past your bedtime, isn't it?
It is.
I love you.
Love you too.
So, you've not been watching the show with me.
No, it's bullshit.
How has my attitude been since starting this show?
Vent to them. I'm tired of listening. It's a horrible show.
It's not good, guys. It's so not good. But hi, everybody. So, that was the one and only Lord Gravemaster, my husband. Um, spoils me, loves me, adores me, and I him most days anyway. So I know that it's a bit late. I know that some peeps are burnt out after FNT, which was a great show tonight. Disbrew and Shadversity are great. The whole panel is always great. It's amazing stuff. Charlie Stevenson, it's good to see you. Hey there. Dempsey, what's going on? Ancient Suds, very nice. Miss Martin Muses, hello, Teresa. Hail and kill. Abagor, what's going on? Here to bask in the hatred of what Amazon has shut out, for I shall never witness it for myself. Yeah, it's not good, guys. Like, it's not like, it isn't like those shows that are so bad they're funny, or so bad they accidentally end up being good. It's just bad. It's just it's so terrible. Oh my goodness. So first and foremost, Stig, who is, and I like to call him Stig because it just gets under his skin. But Stig is no doubt snoozing away and not able to be here. But he posted something on Twitter, and I was putting together my episode 7 review. Like, my goal is to, because I already have 1, 2, and 3 out. So I want to do 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I want to do 4 on Monday, 5 Tuesday, 6 on Wednesday, 7 on Thursday, and then of course we'll have the finale on that Friday. At least that's my plan. That's my hope. I pray to God I can schedule that well. And as I was putting my thoughts together and my reviews, and I'm focusing very much on, the fact that Galadriel has survived a pyroclastic blast to the face. Like, to the face, guy. She just stood there and it hit her full bore. No mercy. She was engulfed in it. We're talking thousands of degrees of heat and ash just barreling towards her. And she doesn't have a scratch. Not a single scratch. And the reason that this is problematic for many, anybody who knows anything about volcanic eruptions, and who's ever seen pictures of, I don't know, Pompeii, knows that is not what happens when you get hit with a blast like that. But then Stieg brought up something very interesting, and he worded it so much better than I could have. Galadriel can survive the same heat that destroyed the One Ring. The same heat from the same volcano. Not a scratch. Something to think about. And that's such a good point, because, and I have no doubt that the haters are going to come out and be like, well, it wasn't Mount Doom yet. It wasn't the lava pits yet. No, you're right. It wasn't. It was the literal creation, the origin of Mount Doom. Like, it's just, I have my episode 6 review. Oh, Jesus wept. That one's been the roughest. There's just, there's not anything to be done. Like, there is no fixing that episode. It I wish that there was, I don't even know. I wish there was a better way to phrase this than absolute, like, that trop is a trap, because that's literally all I got at this point, guys. There's there you can't you can't take these people seriously. You just simply can't. The the idea of Mount Doom being created from a MacGuffin sword that is a keyhole but uses blood magic to extend and become an actual, like, it this this is um the dagger from whatever that not Star Wars movie is called that I can't even remember. But it's JJ, guys, you gotta understand. That was JJ Abrams and this is JJ Abrams. These people are literally his proteges. Like, they studied under him. And so it should be absolutely no surprise whatsoever that there is this much inaccuracy and this much just utter insanity going on. So I have to blow my tweet up really hang on, let me hit pause. Okay. So I'm going to show you this. I have to be really careful. Amazon has been brutal with their takedowns, guys. I wonder why. So here we go. Now, first and foremost, yes, when water mixes with a volcano, it can cause an eruption, but that only happens in two instances. The most common being when the groundwater that has always been there, right? And the steam has been always happening. So you have this really high alkaline groundwater system that has been flowing by, and the steam has been venting. And then all of a sudden, right? So I'll show you. Hang on, let me see. Where is it? Right here. So basically what happens is you have the lava lake area, right? You have the water table right here. The steam has been venting. We see this all over the place. Like, think like Mount St. Helens, all of the, like, the oh gosh, why can't I think of what they're called now? Hot springs. Think of like different hot springs that you see on mountainsides and stuff like that, right? So this is actually from the USGS, and I studied geology and specifically tectonics and volcanoes because I was fascinated with them and sort of like how they worked. And I needed, when I was in college, I needed a lab credit, and you had to take 2 full semesters of it. So I stuck with geology. Who knew that that was going to be able to allow me to absolutely and utterly destroy the $1 billion franchise? Nice little, like, that amount of water. Oh, that amount of water is not enough. That is not enough. I say this in my video as well, but, like, do you see all of this light? There's still room for the steam to vent. There is still, like, this isn't going to do anything except cause, like, massive amounts of steam would occur, but it has places to vent. It has places to go. If anything, it would have cooled that top layer. It would have possibly caused like a very thin cap. And what would have happened more than likely is what's called a ferritomagmatic burst. Not an eruption, but a burst. And it would just have sent like a whole bunch of steam up into the air and possibly some ash, but it wouldn't have been anything like the eruption of what Amazon tried to portray have happened. Because what has to happen is, like I was saying, this water table that's always been there, you see this when it gets close to the magma, it turns into steam, it vents, it's fine. Well, now it doesn't have anywhere to go. You see how you have this, like, it's usually from a rock slide, comes in, it blocks the area, steam has nowhere to go, the pressure builds, and then it explodes. It's a massive explosion. All right. It's huge, it's deadly, it's violent, it's vicious, and it has literally, like, these type of explosions. have created new islands, but it wasn't from the groundwater table. So here's the other scenario where this happens. So this is what happens when it's on land, which is what this explosion is, because this mountain is in the middle. Like, do you see an ocean anywhere? This is important. I'm asking you this for a reason. Do you see an ocean anywhere? Like, put a 1 in the chat if you see an ocean. Anybody see an ocean? No, I see this really tiny little, like, for all intents and purposes, this is not a lot of water. Now, granted, they've channeled it, but this sucker's got to go uphill at some point. Like, this is not a straight path downhill, right? There's no ocean around here. The only other way to have a ferritomagmatic eruption is in the ocean. Now, there's an island in Iceland. Oh my lord, say that 5 times fast. So it's the youngest. Hang on, let me see if I can find it really quick so I don't. It's the youngest island in existence, because I think it's only like 30 or 40 years old because of a ferritomagmatic eruption that happened. Okay, so when that happened, it's called oh goodness, like Circe. Hang on. This is what happens when I get. Yeah, Circe. Okay, here it is. All right, I know it's Wikipedia. Bear with me. Okay. But bam. But this is Circe Island. Okay. What happened here? There was a volcanic vent. Okay. And essentially, rather than, because so this situation right here is much more common. It's one that we see more often. It's, think like Ring of Fire situation. Think like this is sort of what we see. This is what blew out the side of certain mountains, right? Well, this is something that it takes time, right? This pressure, it's not like this blockage falls and then boom, right? The seam still needs to build. The pressure still needs to build. It takes time for this to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, which is the other. Even if this amount of water was enough, even if this amount of water, which it's not, because you can see the light, right? Like this chamber is not pressurized. It's properly vented, and that is not enough water, nor is it enough time to cause that ferromagmatic it's a ferritomagmatic blast would not occur with this. A burst, possibly, but an eruption, absolutely not. So this is a problem because this is actually something that happens in the world. Like, this is a scientific. This happens. This is a scientific occurrence. There's tons of research that goes in behind it, or evidence that goes in behind it. So, like, Circe Island was created when, in a very short amount of time, okay, these type of explosions that happen in the ocean, or these eruptions that happen in the ocean, they don't need as much time. Do you want to know why? Because the pressure is almost instantaneous. When these magma chambers when the seawater goes into these magma chambers, the entire ocean is trying to fill that magma chamber in a matter of seconds. The pressure's already there, the amount of water's already there, the intensity is already, everything is already there. Not to mention, seawater tends to be a little bit more alkaline than did I get that backwards? Man, it's been too long. I'm pretty sure it's seawater is alkaline and freshwater is more acidic. Now, that's not saying that like freshwater has a pH of like 3. Obviously, we would die, right? But a lot of freshwater has like 6.5, 6, in that range. And there's seawater, I mean, that can go, I think the Dead Sea is all the way up. I think it's a alkaline of like 9. It's pretty high. But what happens with these type of eruptions, which would have been accurate if the ocean, like if the Sundering Seas had come into Mount Doom, or what will become Mount Doom, it would have made perfect sense, because this is what happens. The eruption is so violent and so forceful and so instantaneous. There's nowhere for the magma and the the soil, like all of the, like, this is how you get like half moon islands to show up, right? This is what happens when the ocean tries to go into a magma chamber. Okay? So, could you imagine, I mean, the pressure of the ocean, they have there's a reason that human beings can only go so far down, and we have to go down into in submarines, and those submarines have to be reinforced, and they have to have a specific shape, and they have to be have like all of this science has to go in so that you don't get crushed by the pressure of the ocean. Now that pressure is trying to fill a magma chamber in a matter of seconds. Of course a that's going to give you a reaction. You have pressure, you have steam, you have pH levels being completely and utter, like the different oh man, now I'm gonna see, it's too late for this. Anyway, it's basically the pressure of the ocean, the steam, and the magma, they're all intermixing. Bam, it happens quick. So like, this sat here for thousands of years just fine, just fine, didn't do anything. Then that magma chamber, it cracked, that was enough, the ocean water flooded in, and boom, within a matter of hours you had a new island. Okay, so that would have made sense if the Sundering Seas were pouring in here, but this is literally an irrigation channel. Like, this is stuff farmers use to water crops. Also, can we talk about the absolute waste of trees? Like, what was the point other than being like, look at this giant scar on the land, you blind elves? Like, how did they not see this? And here's my other issue. They try to make it look like when it comes out of the dam, it goes downhill the whole way. That isn't how it works. And the other thing that's super confusing, and I know that they tried to do this for like effect, but it is clearly coming in at a low side angle here, right? And they're trying to make it look all pressurized. I promise you, it would have slowed down significantly by then. But as we change directions, or like as we change camera views, okay, so we all see this, right? This is a channel. It's going in like a perpendicular line to what would be like the magma pit, essentially, right? And then all of a sudden, it shifts and it looks like it's just pouring straight down into it because of the way that they have the light cast. Because what you have to think is this water came in at an angle and then dropped in. This halo of light would not be trying to make it to be. It would block out any light from the incoming channel. It wouldn't be there. This is just like, this would not happen. There's no pressure in this chamber. Like, this magma is under no, like, it's entered into distress at this point. This magma chamber has currently entered into distress. But like I said, at most you might be able to get a ferritomagmatic burst, which would look something like this. So lots of steam, lots of billowing, like, these are not clouds. This is steam from the ferritomagmatic burst. All right, but somebody blocked me. I don't care. Deal with it. Cold hard facts. But here we go. Yeah, so steam builds till finally it has no more room. Boom. And since this process didn't occur in episode 6, like, that's my whole point. This process could have been done. What would have made more sense is if, instead of digging a trench for irrigation, they simply were capping the magma chamber. Right? So, yeah, at best you'd get Old Faithful. Exactly. So it would have made more sense if the orcs took the elves and humans, the Southlanders, and were capping the chamber. But it wouldn't have, and then you would have gotten something close to. You would have gotten this. Where'd it go? Come on, I know you're here. Oh, we're gonna be snooty now, are we? Let me see. I'll mute you. Then you would have gotten something close to this, right? Very devastating, terrifying. Kind of looks like a spider right here, quite frankly. But I digress. Little skull, horns. Does that look like a Balrog crawling out of there to anybody else? Are they trying to go for like artsy fartsy? I don't know. I've looked at this thing so many times. It's like one of those ink blot pictures now where I just see stuff. It's not really there. I'm giving the writers too much credit. And then they'll take my ideas and be like, see, we're geniuses. And I'll be like, psh, no. But this would be at best what they'd be looking at. Maybe a bit more steam. But honestly, even like just looking at this magma chamber, like the size of it, it's there's not enough here. Now, could this be deep? Absolutely. But here's the problem. We haven't had cutaways to this chamber before. We haven't had there has been no, and it was of course because it's supposed to be like this big surprise, even though we knew at some point this mountain was going to have to become Mount Doom. We were already way ahead of the writers. We were like, yes, we get it. Just like, what are you going to do? Like, how is this going to happen? And the idea that it took a hilt from a boy who happened to find it, and we still don't even like this thing uses blood magic. This thing is also a key. This thing is also a map. Like it's part of it has the symbol, it has the map etched on its hilt. Like this thing doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what it is or what it wants to be. It simply exists for plot armor purposes. Or I guess in this case, like plot weapon purposes. So, right, we have this huge, first of all, volcanic eruptions also hard never. It's never just the top. It's never just the top. Like you're gonna take out some one of the faces of the mountain is gonna go. Because that's how pressure works. Like it's not a tippy top thing. It is we're going to blow the whole side of the mountain out along with the top. It's just the insanity and the reach that these people had to do in order to magic this into being. And like I said, we've had no reference to this magma chamber. It's not like throughout the episode we've seen like a Balrog sitting over here looking at the magma chamber, coaxing it, as Morgoth's servant has been attempting to create this world of darkness to fulfill his master's vision. That hasn't happened at all. We don't have any idea. Like, this thing looks really shallow. And my other reason for thinking that, do you see all of these stalagmites? Like that's not structure you see inside of wells of magma. It simply isn't, because it's too hot. It's too hot. Magma chambers, for the most part, are incredibly smooth, except for the parts where it, like, right here is where it would have started to roughen up. But otherwise, it would have been relatively smooth because magma is hot. It's bubbling. It's splashing up against the walls. It's eating away at the walls, but then it, like, cools and it builds, right? So this all looks really old. Like, this, to create something that looks like this, a stalagmite that is this high, this takes years. Now, could there have been like a hiccup and then this popped up and it just hasn't been washed away? Okay, sure. But that's giving them a lot of credit that they don't deserve, especially this strip right here. Like, what's going on right here? This doesn't make any sense. The existent, like, this isn't nitpicking, guys. This literally doesn't make any sense. If this magma chamber is so hot that this amount of water is going to cause this type of explode. Oh, God, why does it keep freezing on me? Amazon, what are you doing to me? Like, it's going to cause this type of explosion. We're going to have this eruption that literally it's going to take out and clouds going to fill the sky and it's going to be the creation of Mordor. there should be like this chamber should be, man, I don't know what it is. It doesn't like this scene. Maybe it's too bright. But this magma chamber is not there. It's shallow. Like it's so close to this. I mean, look at that. This looks like it literally curves around a corner and boom, there's the magma. It's a very shallow magma chamber. Now, could a eruption, like a small eruption up here, cause a larger one down below? Yes, absolutely. It could affect the magma pools below it. It could affect, maybe you have a weak magma wall, it collapses in, it caps it, it creates more pressure, and then it leads to a barrier explosion. There's all these chain reaction things that can happen, absolutely. That doesn't happen. The water hits the magma and it goes boom. This is a gasoline explosion. Don't ask me how I know that. But like this is what happens when you mix like nitrous and flames. Okay? This wasn't okay, so the water hit it, it capped it over, the pressure built, there was a small eruption that led to a bigger eruption, and then we had the big explosion. What would have made more sense, Amazon, is if you had shown the orcs using the slaves to seal up the magma chamber to build up the pressure, or if little by little you were sending irrigation tunnels in from different angles, right? You were sending it in from different angles to slowly cool this magma chamber so that it eventually hardened and then it caused the pressure to build below it, leading to the explosion. We're over 7 hours into this show. You could have easily done cutaways to this pool of magma and it could have still been like, what is this? Like what are we looking at? Like, is this the core of Mount Doom? Is this where it all begins? But no, we have an instantaneous explosion. That doesn't happen. This isn't the ocean. Again, the only time that this is going to happen almost instantaneously like this is in circumstances like Cersei Island, where the entire ocean filled that magma chamber in a matter of seconds. So it's not nitpicking. It's not, oh, you're just looking for stuff to hate. No. This isn't, I think I even said it in here. Let me see. I think it's somewhere in this thread. Oh, look. Gary responded. I knew that. I liked it. Oh my word. Okay. Super. I'm on it. I'm doing it right now. Let me see. I guess they never studied thermodynamics. All that would do is create steam. Yeah, exactly. A lot of steam and not much else. But people like here's the other thing. So you would have to have, like me, I accidentally have a background in geology. It's 1 year of college level geology where I learned about this type of eruption, that it was even possible. Most people, when they hear water and magma, well, doesn't water cool magma and then makes land and then you get like fertile soil? This makes no sense to the to the person with just average, like just the normie viewer who doesn't have a background in geology. Like, what they're going to look at this and they're going to be like, why would this happen? Like, water doesn't make eruptions occur. Like, that's what the general, like, normie, just like everyday fan is going to think. They're going to be super confused. They're going to be super confused as to why this explosion is taking place. And they're going to think the showrunners don't know what they're doing. This is a type of explosion that can happen, but not under these circumstances. So, in which case, the audience members who are like, these writers don't know what they're doing, are absolutely correct, because they don't know what they're doing. They read, hey, when water mixes with magma, it can cause a violent, ashy and molten eruption that is devastating to the land around it and can blot out the sun for such and such amount of time. Because, guys, remember, not only does this thing go boom instantaneously, we get the freaking Mordor cut, like what shall we call this land? And here, out. Like, this thing, let's see. Hold on. Let me make sure I don't want to goof this. So, oh, one moment. I have a tiny human. Just give me 1 second. So we are.
Mommy.
I'll be right back, folks. Okay, sorry. Tiny human was asking me why I was mad, and I woke them up. But, yes, Tiny Human is not up this late. I woke Tiny Human up because I got too passionate about volcanoes and how the eruptions would not happen like that. But I digress. So, yes, you can have a fairy tale magmatic eruption. Yes, it can happen. No, it can't happen under the circumstances that Amazon presented. And what's truly and utterly terrifying is there's people who are defending this. Like, oh, here we go. Using real world science to hate on a fun scene. What? Like, these people fundamentally do not understand. They fundamentally do not understand Tolkien. The reason his IP is so incredibly powerful and so brilliant is because he is in every bit of its essence. And science is present in this realm. Science exists. Yes, there's magic. Yes, there's elves. Yes, there's these ethereal beings. And yes, there's these wonderful things that can happen. I mean, wizards, stars, a star, like, we've basically got angels, Iluvatar, which is essentially God, or the creator, and we have all of these incredible things. But this is like, Tolkien cared about stuff like this. He's got the genealogies, he's got the linguistics, he has the phenotypes, he's got the geography, the geology. It's all there. Every bit of it is within the breadth of this incredible mythos that he breathed life into. It's truly stunning. And so, But I'm hating on a fun scene because of real world silence. Or real world science. Reminds me of going over when Elrond and his magical ring made a river overflow and its waves turned to horses to wash demons away. Published in the latest journals. Okay, that's magic. This is not magic. There's no like a human turned a key, a MacGuffin key. Human turned a MacGuffin key and Mount Doom was created. Like that's literally what happened. Also, she's dead. This is like easily 6,000 degrees if not hotter coming at her face. Full bore, violently, viciously. She's dead. Everybody around her is dead. This thing is ripping up trees. It's moving rock. It's shifting bolt. She's dead. Like everything after this is a hallucinogenic dream. This is like the afterlife dream. She's in Valinor. Like she's gone. I mean, like that armor. It's not like not only can her chainmail protect her from the cold, which wouldn't happen. Her armor can now protect her. I can't like from a volume. Guys, do you understand? She just took an entire volcanic eruption to the face. To the face. It's all over her face, all over her everything. And all it looks like is she rolled around in some Cheeto dust. She's got like a hair out of place. She actually looks less disheveled in this scene. Like, she looks less disheveled in this scene than she has looked throughout the entire series. I just don't know what to do with this anymore. I don't just at what point do you admit that you have no idea what you're doing? I mean, what? It's a like also the look on her face. This woman looks so bored and miserable. I mean, I'd welcome death too. Look at what is coming at her face, guys. Look at that. That's not. This isn't sci-fi. This is not, she's not going down a time travel tunnel. This isn't the timeline whizzing past her. We're not in Star Trek. She's not going, oh my goodness. There's no beam me up Scotty here. This isn't sci-fi. This is also not how Pyroclastic Cloud looks. I digress. I mean, the cloud's moving, like, the cloud is moving so fast. This scene really bothers me because it makes it seem like it's more accurate when it's right here. The ash stays in the front because it's so thick and it's so dense that you only get glimpses of the flames below it. But then when you look here, it's like, oh, well, the sparks are the things that fly in first. So you see it coming and then the ash hits you. That isn't how it works. The ash continues and continues and continues. And guys, remember, this amount of water hitting this amount of magma was able to keep this going, was able to keep it going and turn the land into Mordor. Like when we get to the end, here, let me see if I can find that scene. Oh, this is going to be so bad. When we get to the end of episode 6, stupid. Oh no, that was episode 7. Oh, that's right, because nothing happened in episode 7, and I completely forgot. Like, by the way, the Eye is episode 7, and it gets revealed in that episode what the name of the new land is, because it's no longer the Southlands is the name of a place that no longer exists. And I hate these writers. So that amount was able to keep this mountain ashing. Like, look, it's still going. It is permanently erupting. Permanently erupting. Look at what that little bit of water into that tiny magma chamber, I am supposed to believe, did all this. And then, of course, we get this insane reveal, or whatever you want to call it. We go from, and then it burns away. I have to be really, really, really careful. It burns away. Look at this. Like, we knew that already. I don't understand. Like, that is some 8th grade tech competition level stuff going on. Like this is what you see come out of like 8th grade aspiring special effects and art and writers. This is the level that you would expect to see from like an 8th or 9th grade competition like that. Not a $1 billion IP that they've bragged and bragged and bragged about. This mountain is one, it's not Mount Doom. It doesn't even look convincing at all, because like the really big problem with this, there's still sunlight for one. But I think my biggest issue with all of this is when you look at it and you genuinely take this in, you have to go back to Stig's comment. Galadriel survived a blast from the mountain, from the volcano, from the same fire that forged and destroyed the One Ring. Like, I can't. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And for this thing to just keep going, that means that water source would have to continue to pour in there and feed this magma. It would have to be under consistent pressure with consistent water flow. Like, that is what is occurring here in order for the type of eruption that they have presented, for it to eternally erupt like that. It would have to have a source of water flow basically into eternity. Yes, exactly, Charlie Stevenson. Volcanoes, eruptions stop when pressure is released. Okay? There's singing songs about the Southland. I miss Alabama once again. And I think it's a sin. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the tempest inside Galadriel saved her. Can we talk about how utterly ridiculous that whole dialogue scene was? Why are you going to talk to the Queen Regent like that? You need her. You definitely need her. You need her as an ally. You don't have to be friends. But I don't think you should sit there and blatantly insult her. Also, let's not forget that Galadriel is royalty in the elven realm, and politics is something she's very good at. Royal courts, she's very good at. That is what she is. That is what she has done. She wasn't this insane whammon, fight the power, fight the evil, oppressive males who want to keep me down. But this article that I'm sure many of you have seen has a line in it that pissed me off to no end, because it basically said that females need to reject their femininity, otherwise they can't, they're simply there to do the bidding of men. So this comes from Screen Rant, so it should be no surprise that it's absolute trash. Wherever Galadriel's battlefield antics fall within Middle-earth mythology, they do honor her traditional characterization, albeit not necessarily her traditional characterization from The Lord of the Rings. This is very important. This is very important. They are splitting hairs at this point. Let me zoom in. They're splitting hairs at this point. Okay? It's her traditional characterization, but not the traditional characterization from the source material. So then what traditional characterization are you talking about? Just like, I'm assuming you'll understand why I say this after we read further. I'm assuming you're talking about what the sweaty, bald, pathetic loser in their mom's basement believes to be the actual or real Galadriel, like their envisionment of her, or the Jackson trilogy Galadriel, who was accurate to the lore for pretty, like 98% accurate to the lore for the most part. During the Silmarillion's flight of the Noldor, Galadriel was the only woman to champion the exile from Valinor. These people need to stop making the flight of the Noldor sound noble. It wasn't. It was a very bad, bad, bad thing. Though she eventually became, here's where this gets uber insulting, the stay-at-home mythical elf queen checking what the Fellowship wanted for Christmas. Guys, they literally just said she's basically a servant for Santa, and she is there to dish up what the men need. Her role in The Lord of the Rings is unimpressive, unimportant, and utterly disgusting, because it's not strong whammon. It's not hear me roar. Yeah. They called her one of Santa's elves, one of Santa's helpers. Like, I don't even know what to do with that. It's so ridiculous. Firstly, because anybody who knows anything about Santa's elves knows that the reason that they work for Santa is because they're magical, he's magical, he protects them, they protect him, they work together to bring joy to the world in hopes of sustaining magic and the joy and the mystery for all of those who are brave enough to believe. But this is not about Christmas lore or Santa Claus lore or Santa's elves lore. This is about how they want to make Galadriel seem like her seeking a way to be worthy of returning to her home and being wise and tempered and insightful and foresightful. Just wasn't cutting it. No. See, because what we have to do is, the younger Galadriel was more rebellious, direct, and ambitious. It's no surprise to see that version of Galadriel jumping into dirty steel-to-steel combat rather than just casting powerful spells during key showdowns. My head hurts. Like, guys. It gets better. With Galadriel armor-clad and packing steel. See what they did there? Lord of the Rings of Power. Perhaps hints towards its character arc for Morfydd Clark's elf. When Morgoth was up to no good in the First Age, Galadriel declined to fight, believing the enemy's power impossible to overcome. Tolkien hints she came to question that inaction as the centuries passed, and that doubt may motivate Galadriel to fight as a commander in the Lord of the Rings of Power. No. Where do these people pull this stuff out of? Like, reading comprehension is not their strong suit, is what I'm gathering. Because you can't. The author themselves, like, unless they write a story that alters or fundamentally changes the actual canon of the story, like it is canon to the story that they wrote, they can write letters all the time. They'd be like, oh, and you're always going to have the what ifs, or the I could have added this, or I could have included this, or I think this about this scene, or I don't understand what everybody's fascination is with that scene. Those happen all the time. That's normal dialogue. That does not mean that the letters that Tolkien wrote trump what is in the actual books. People have to remember that, okay? It's fine that he can talk about it and look back and say, oh, I wish I had done this differently, or I wish that I had gotten this point across more clearly. I hear you. That's perfectly fine. Every author, like, even to know that J.R.R. Tolkien had that same thought process is proof that all authors, at least the ones that care, are going to go through that type of situation. But to attempt to disregard the genuine, actual Galadriel of this lore and compare her to one of Santa's helpers. Oh my god, guys, I almost punched my computer screen when I read that. I'm not even joking. I was so upset when I read that I didn't even know what to do. I could not actually process the idiocy that I was reading on the page, because I was like, I can't, the connection is not there. I don't understand. It's so stupid that anybody with 2 brain cells would have been able to realize how stupid this is. But that isn't what happened. Instead, it got past the budget committee, it got past the editing crew, it got past the directors, the producers, the screening room. It got past all those people and somehow ended up on the small screen. And now, all of these things, all these articles, all these tweets, all these actor interviews, all these showrunner interviews, they're running defense so hard. Do you see anything like that? I don't think Stieg is still here, but anybody who's been around here for a little while knows I am not a Game of Thrones fan. Never have been, never will be. But I'll tell you right now, do you know how I know for a fact that House of the Dragon is better than Rings of Power? Because I don't see this crap happening. There are no tweets attacking fans of House of the Dragon, calling them racists or misogynists or internal misogynists or pick me girls or pick me boys or whatever the case may be, or toxic fans. That's not happening. There's no articles that are trying to run cover. There's no meltdowns or explosions happening on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media platform they use. Snapchat, I don't even know anymore. TikTok. You don't have any of that happening because the show is able to stand on its own merits and its own 2 feet. I've not even watched the show. I'm not a fan of Game of Thrones. I don't care about a prequel, especially a prequel that has had so many fundamental changes to the lore itself, which I find blatantly disrespectful as it is. But I can tell you, without seeing the other show, having only seen stills and a few trailers, that it is 1,000 times better than Rings of Power. It simply is, by virtue of how they are marketing, how they are interacting with fans, and the response to the reviews and reactions of the show. It truly blows the mind. I'm gonna hit some super chats here really quick. Thank you so much, everybody. You're Barmy for $2. Thank you. It's your Reb Army. I see it. Didn't say anything, but thank you for the $2. D-Day Direwolf, thank you for becoming a member. I'm so, so grateful. I really do appreciate it. I thought you already were one, maybe, but I know it's been a while. Guys, life has been really crazy. I do appreciate your patience and your, hanging in there with me as I get like my sporadic stuff going on. Life has kind of kept me on my toes, is how I will best describe that situation. So but it's gonna be okay. It'll be fine. But thank you so much, D-Day Direwolf. I really appreciate it. So for $2, also D-Day Dire says, Lethal says hi, by the way. Hi, Lethal. Mwah. Our very own Prince Lethal, whom you should go subscribe to. He's got his gaming channel, Hyper Lethal, and then of course his Prince Lethal channel after his main channel got scrapped. So yes, definitely go check him out. We love Lethal here. We're big Lethal stands and big Lethal lovers. He is a good egg. The Common Nerd became a new member. My gosh, you guys are spoiling me tonight. Thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it. I truly, truly do. And your Army, thank for $2 more. Thank you so much. Says I don't want to more about Santa's elves. Yes, well, you're gonna more about Santa's elves. Thank you so much for the supers. I really appreciate it. Dave Bob, hey. But yeah, how the fact that I can tell you as a non-fan of Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones wouldn't exist without Lord of the Rings, as would much of the fantasy that we know and love today, it wouldn't exist either. But it does, thanks to the grandfather of modern fantasy and the cornerstone that is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Like, this is something else entirely, you guys. It is an active they are actively trying to destroy the established lore while simultaneously saying that they are respecting it and that you have to respect their interpretation. We don't, though. Here's the thing. At this point now, whenever someone says, "Oh, you have to respect the lore," or you have to respect the lore is, a dog whistle or whatever. You have to respect all the hard work and all of the sweat and the tears that went into this project, and these people tried, and how does it you're hating on people who put in all of their absolute hard work and sweat equity, right? But I don't, though. Do there there are animated films from the 70s, and the thing is, especially when it comes to like The Hobbit, the animation style was not one that many people cared for, especially when it came to Thorndale. Here, let me see if I can do. Here we go. Do. There we go. Does that look like a beautiful, ethereal, magnanimous ruler of the woodland realm? That was a animation choice. That was an animation choice. You don't have to like this. Most people don't like this. In fact, people didn't have high hopes for Jackson's trilogy because of these animated films. Now, were all of them bad? Not necessarily, but like Smeagol looks like a toad. He looks like a frog. Now, granted, when you read the books, the way he's described, this is pretty close to what you could probably envision. But you have to admit, the live action version of Smeagol captured something that this animated one doesn't. And so many times many times. The animated film, the Hobbit and the animated Lord of the Rings films from the 70s, 80s, they're referenced as to what not to do. And that's, I mean, that's the truth of the matter. This is like, it was an interpretation and it failed. It did not work. Okay? So Elrond is looking a little bit more ethereal with his halo going on, right? But like, not so much. Not so much. So this is often, I mean, Smaug kind of just looks like, he looks like a kitty cat right here. I mean, better, like, it's far more well drawn than I could possibly do. But there's definitely things left to be desired. I will say that much. And, you know, granted, the animated Hobbit scene stayed much closer to the actual book, especially in running time, what you would expect to see from such a short book that is The Hobbit. So adaptations have tried before and they have not been successful. And, you know, it's, here we go. Here's the scene where they come to, it's much better in my humble opinion, much better in the live action than it is in the animated series. But there's some stuff in the animated series that I find whimsical and intriguing. And I actually do kind of like the goblins a little bit better in this than in the live action. But I don't I don't really care. Here we go. So like, the Lord of the Eagles. This isn't anything that's gonna bowl me over and knock me down and be like, oh my gosh, this is so impressive. And when you're looking at this and you're like, you know, for what it is, especially when you're looking for something that's accurate to the book itself and doesn't have inflated runtime from a director who wasn't kept in check. I mean, this definitely stays far more true to the book as far in terms of storytelling. But the style choice, it failed this film. It failed all of the films. And that's why the animated films never took off, but it didn't destroy Tolkien's legacy. And that's why I am not, oh, Lady Fossilot, hi. Hey, Lady G in chat, have a great stream. Just drop by before turning in. Oh, childhood. These animated shows were my first loves and hooked me into the literature. Also, music is earwormish. Yes, the music was earwormish. It's very, very good. But the fact that these animated films or these animated shows that were like made for TV too. I mean, these things didn't make $1 billion. They didn't, you know, they didn't revolutionize fantasy filmmaking or fantasy film storytelling. They were, you know, great. They at, how can I put this? They were great at some visuals, and they were great at visually placing the story from the book in front of you, showing, not telling. But it's the animation style was a poor decision. It was a poor choice. Tarandale is by far a letdown. But Lord of the Rings survived. I have no doubt that it's going to survive Trop as well, because this isn't Tolkien stuff. If this thing gets, like, season 2 has started filming over in the UK allegedly, and it doesn't look like $1 billion show. $1 billion certainly didn't go into the writing. They have repurposed so many lines from Fellowship, from Jackson's trilogy. They are banking on your nostalgia and your own callback, much like with this explosion, this this eruption. You have to have external knowledge of geology and volcanology to understand what happened, what you just witnessed. That's not okay. That's not how this is supposed to work. And for them to blatantly just disregard that and disrespect it is further proof that, pardon me. Whew, God bless me, excuse me, sorry. That this isn't going to be able to stand on its own 2 feet. It has no legs. If this gets more than 2 seasons, I will be stunned, because the amount of money that they are having to pour into this, because you have to understand, when they bought the rights, they went and they built, so they bought the rights, they had to build studios, and they had to build sets for all of this, and then they had to film it and do all of that. Now they are basically, for season 2, having to do all of the prep that they did for season 1, because most of the sets, most of the set pieces, most of the set design, all of the sets, the studios, those all stay down in New Zealand. They're in the UK filming now. They're up in the UK. So it doesn't make any sense. And oh my gosh, guys, if you've ever heard me, Miss Martin, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but if you've ever heard Miss Martin and I talking, one of my biggest pet peeves about the Jackson trilogy, and I know it was to try and add a sense of urgency, but really I feel overall it took away from the film. You never realized how long Frodo waited for Gandalf to return, how long Frodo sat with the ring there. All of the things that were happening outside of the Shire without Frodo's knowledge. All of these things that happened. And we got that, instead of it being 2 decades, 17 years, but 2 decades of Frodo in the Shire, felt closer to 2 weeks, maybe 3, right? And it felt like Gandalf got to Minas Tirith and the library at the White Tower within a day or two's ride, and then spent a week or 2 looking for Gollum. Gollum got captured by the enemy, so Gandalf rode back to the Shire. Felt like it happened within a month. It really bothered me. I can let that go now. That is something that this show did do for me. The time pattern, you can't call it line because it doesn't make any sense. The time convention here makes no sense whatsoever. None at all. I don't understand it. I'm lost and confused. Stuff that allegedly Mount Doom has been billowing smoke for weeks, but Galadriel and Theo just found the tents. Like, there is no sense of time in this show. It doesn't feel like there's any coherent anything going on with any of this. Like, this is the scene from episode, like, this is her looking at the cloud. Like, that's not the look of someone staring at a pyroclastic cloud barreling down at them at 6,000 degrees. Okay? That's not the look of someone who is terrified of death. And I think, here we go. We'll just do a quick do. Okay, so Here's their Numenorian army of 300 horses. That's not 300 horses. Oh my god, this scene. Guys, episode 6 was rough. It was so bad. Also, close your mouth. Sauron, Halbrand. Like, she's just standing there. Like, I get it. There's not much you can do. But, like, this thing is... Duck! Get inside! Get inside! Getting inside is not going to do anything. That pyroclastic cloud is ripping everything up in its wake. And then she just opens her eyes. And she's, like, covered in dust. That's not how pyroclastic clouds work. She wouldn't be able to breathe. Do you guys see how thick and dense this ash is? She has nothing. This is when masking would save your life. I'm surprised they did not take the opportunity to point this out. Anyway, like, look at how dense this ash is. Stuff is still on fire. Okay? And, like, this is where I got really confused. Okay? She's looking for survivors. She's looking around, right? She hears somebody. She finds Theo. Now, they take off in one direction. But, like, okay, so see, they're walking, and then the camera pans over here. They are feet. I mean, feet from other survivors. Like, boom, there's another guy who's alive. And you're telling me that they're just going to walk off without them? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you're looking for survivors. There's one right there, feet from you, coughing his lungs up. Right? You have people screaming and yelling. Here's 4 more. You have the Queen Regent right here, bringing people with her. But for some reason, Galadriel and Theo, they're just going to go off a wandering on their own. They're just going to do whatever they want. Meanwhile, you got a survivor there, hacking up a lung. You've got people trapped under roofs. You've got the Queen Regent. Oh, this ticked me off. Isildur needs Muriel's help to lift the freaking roof. This is not like a mother lifting up a car off of her child, which I'm sure is what many of them are going to reference when they're like, it can so happen. You hear about, but like, look at that. He struggled. She comes over and suddenly they can lift the roof so his friend can crawl out to safety. I have issues. Oh, by the way, the only person that died that we know in this pyroclastic blast that should have wiped them all from existence, they should all be ash right now. But no, it's just his white friend that died. Isildur's white male friend is the one who died. Only one. He's dead. Let him go. Oh, it bothers me so much. Also, there is no roof left. We're looking at structural beams, and these suckers would have fallen long ago. It doesn't make any sense, but of course, we have to have fake fear. Oh no, they're coming down. That also looked so terrible. Like, oh, I need to go save him. I need to. No, I'm going to get blown back. Isildur, no. Oh. No. By the way, Isildur is dead twice now. Pyroclastic cloud to the face. Whole structure coming down on him. Like, you're not surviving that at all. Not even a little bit. Look at that. He dead. He's dead. I mean, he's not, but he is. We all know he's not. Oh, gosh. The Harfoots. I think they're actually my least favorite part of this entire series. They're evil to the core. Like, so evil. Now, here's the thing. He talks about how the ancestors spoke of mountains that could spew fire rock. But, like, this is a very localized... I mean, look, I'm going to move the mouse so you can all kind of get a glimpse. That's an extremely localized hit. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense. And of course, because they're impatient and not Gandalf healed everything, but it didn't happen instantaneously, it must not have worked, so they sent him away anyway. Dees is a villain. She is a power-hungry, sadistic, manipulative villain. She's going to be the reason that their dwarven kingdom falls. She's the Bane of Durin, not the Balrog. Nope. 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 It's her. She's the reason for it all. And he doesn't get to be a prince anymore because he decided to help his friend instead of listening to his daddy. And then they send not Gandalf on his merry way. Okay. This scene, I'm so angry about this scene for so many reasons. Not the least of which being this face right here. She just said, and my husband. She hasn't said Celeborn yet. That is not the face of pain, like bittersweetness. She believes that her husband has been killed, that Celeborn is dead. He's been dead for centuries, MIA, taken from her by the orcs. Never heard of him before now. This vengeance quest was all about her brother Finrod, who also comes up in this speech. She's like, my husband, Celeborn. He left for battle and I chided him because his armor didn't fit. Like, I swear, the only knowledge these people have of dialogue between military couples are military soap opera dramas. It's just, oh my god. I think in my review, I think I'm yelling at this point. It's so bad, guys. Like, she isn't on a vengeance quest for her husband. No, it's her brother who told her that rocks sink because they look down and ships float because they look up. Like, her whole persona is because her brother died, not her husband, not the man that gave her her name. Oh yeah, that's in my review too. Why as a child is she being called Galadriel? That is the name given to her by her husband Celeborn. But they were calling her Galadriel as a child. As a child. That wasn't her name. She just sits there and she's like, yeah, it happened. Here. Do. I'll let y'all see it. We met in a glade of flowers. Oh gosh. Here we go. Husband. Yeah, he's dead. Met in the glade of flowers. Theo's all jealous. She's thousands of years older than him, but he has a crush. His armor didn't fit properly. Galadriel's not a smith. Galadriel is not an armor smith. Galadriel is not an armor master. She is none of those things. And yet somehow she is going to be able to sit there and insult her husband to his face while he goes off to battle orcs. First of all, let's just completely and utterly destroy Galadriel, who loved and was devoted to Celeborn and would have never at any point treated him as a fool or acted in any way that foolishly. She is not Galadriel. And I don't know whom Celeborn is that she's talking about. But also, you know what? At this point, she's like, she doesn't even look like she's been through a pyroclastic cloud, a volcanic eruption, a battle, none of it. Like, she's so just static. She is static. I hate it. I'm sick of this ridiculousness. She has no expression. She has no whimsicalness, no heartfeltness. This is not the face of someone who is having fond memories of somebody that they love. This is somebody who's bored and who is trying to get through. Like, when you hear her speak, it sounds like she is being forced to say these things about Celeborn. Not that she genuinely feels them. No, the only time that we get any type of influx in her voice is when she talks about how she insulted him right before he went off and died in war. That is not how military spouses communicate. That's not how they talk. Not the good ones, anyway. And Celeborn and Galadriel should be the pinnacle of relationship goals. They should be what people aspire to be. They are the fantasy couple that you want to emulate in real life as closely as you possibly can. But no, we have Galadriel insulting her husband who is going off to fight the orcs and Morgoth and Sauron and then dies. Also, it's elvish armor. I guarantee you that it did fit properly. You psychotic, selfish, self-centered, static biatch. Oh my god, I hate her so much. Silver clam. All right, y'all. Do you understand what a silver clam is? Does anybody know that reference? If you know it, please put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2. And I will give you the slang of it, I guess. I don't even know if they knew about this when they did it, but it really pisses me off. It really, 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 really pisses me off. Does anybody know what it means? 2? Okay, so I see a 2. I see a Q. Like, okay. Silver clams, guys, they are for officers who shine up their rank and don't do anything. They clam up in battle. Oh, Dave Bob, you knew what it was? Okay, but I see a lot more 2s. No idea. Yeah, silver clams are people who have rank and are all talk and no action. And then when stuff hits the fan, they clam up. They have their little silver stuff on their collar, but they don't do anything. Now, whether they knew this or not is irrelevant because it is a terminology. You don't hear it a lot because, well, why would you? Especially if you're not in that range. But it's basically talking about a useless officer. It's just one more way. It's just one more way to insult officers who have no experience or who have the experience but have survived by extracting themselves from most situations, clamming up, and allowing everybody else to do the dirty work around them. Okay? That's what a silver clam is. So I don't know. I really don't know if they knew that or not. I mean, and then of course, there's always the slang term for what clam is. So was she calling her husband Celeborn it's still just as bad. It's in reference to like female body parts. And you're essentially calling that person like weak or only good for one thing. So it's just like it's so insulting and I am willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one because I mean, I don't think most people know what that stands for. But yikes. Can I be more specific? No, D-Day Direwolf, you know what I'm talking about. And it's just Yeah, exactly, Shane. Like, it doesn't make any sense to call him a silver clam. They're insulting him. And I know they know that they're insulting him. Yes, that is exactly what she's calling him. Yes, taco. Yes. I'm so angry. They are calling Celeborn probably the most experienced in battle. They're calling him a clam. They're calling him weak. They're calling him useless. They're calling him idiotic. Angry does not even begin to describe the emotions that I am having. You wanted an emotional reaction, Amazon? Congratulations. You got one. You are insulting the love of Galadriel's immortal life. You are insulting Galadriel by making her speak these words. You are tarnishing any and all hope any of us would have for any type of redemption. Galadriel has no redemption arc, guys. Spoilers, there's no Galadriel redemption arc because the writers do not think she needs one. Yet, she says stuff like this, and it's supposed to be cute or like engaging. It's like a pet. They're trying to pass it off as a pet name. Oh, well, they would tease each other and they would be coy and they would, this is, I called him Silver Clam. He called me Galadriel. Yeah. One of you is definitely better with words. My God, Celeborn is dead and he's got better dialogue than this witch. Oh, utterly ridiculous. I just can't. And then she's like, her expression hasn't changed, guys. She looked down and then looked back up. And her expression has not changed. Even though she's saying how she never saw him again after that. This is centuries ago. Centuries ago. And now she's got the heart. Now she's got the hots for Sauron. Sauron and Galadriel will never end Numenor at the same time. Period. End of discussion. Like, what is happening? Like, when the showrunner said that they were going to condense timelines, I was like, it's not going to work. These things have to happen over this amount of time for a reason. Tolkien knew what he was doing. You guys have no idea what you're messing with. This is what destroyed the expansiveness, or like the grandeur that was Lord of the Rings in Jackson's trilogy, because he had to condense the timeline. There was a way that you could have shown time passing, right? But they didn't do that. And so we got this sense of urgency instead, which I understand again why they adapted it that way. But I fundamentally disagree with it, and I believe it robbed Jackson's trilogy of a lot of gravitas. It really truly did. That was 2 decades condensed down into like a month, right? We're talking somewhere in the bounds of 4 to 6 millennia condensed down into 3 months. It's not possible. You can't condense that much time down. I don't understand. Her face bothers me. That's not the face you make when you're staring down a pyroclastic cloud. You dumb, self-centered witch. I hate her so much. Yeah, apparently. I don't even know if she even has. Oh my God. I can't. Like, just look at this. This title is the most honest thing ever. Galadriel is very different in the Rings of Power to Lord of the Rings. Notice that doesn't say Lord of the Rings of Power, because they know that this is BS. They know that this is not real Lord of the Rings. This is not Tolkien. Look at the difference. It's so funny because they had to bring her in perspective. They had to bring her forward to make her taller because Morfydd Clark is like 5'3". Meanwhile, you have Kate Blanchett here who just looks ethereal and gorgeous. She's a calming, peaceful presence. This makes me want to rip my own eyes out of my skull, dip them in battery acid, and then rubbing alcohol, and then stick them back in backwards so I never have to see it again. That's the feeling that I get. I hate it. Ugh. I just, if Celebrian is alive already, Galadriel will take Worst Mother Award away from Bronwyn, who I just don't understand why she's even in this series. It just blows my mind. She's abandoned Theo so many times, and each time he gets in like worse and worse trouble, to the point where he was able to be put in a position. He was put into a position by her poor parenting choices and her lack of parenting ability that they were able to destroy the Southlands. I'm just like, these are just night and day. And guys, to put this in perspective, I never did release this video, but I'm gonna. I was like, people probably don't really want to see this. It's just something that I noticed, and I was like, it's just kind of like a funny. But I think I'm gonna finish editing and just release that video. Because when I show this to you, I've shown some of you have seen this. How on earth, how on earth are you going to have a Tim Burton? That's right. A Tim Burton film. You tell me which one. You want to have a warrior Galadriel? Which one of these do you think would actually someday become this? Look at this and tell me honestly. Which one of these women, which one of these strong female warriors, I have issues with Alice picking up a sword too, but not near as much as Galadriel. One of these is going to become her. Come on, guys. Like, even the armor is better. Like, what is happening? This is a Tim Burton film. And yes, I know Tim Burton cares about his projects. I do. But we're talking about Alice in freaking Wonderland. I mean, it's not even close. This crap looks like rubber. This looks like one of those J.C. Penney like strapped purses, right? Here's even the 3-hole punch that goes into the buckle, the cinch buckle, so you can tighten it. There's 3 holes right there. Like, and this all looks like one piece of melded rubber that was painted. It doesn't make any sense. And also, Amazon should be highly insulted and worried that a Tim Burton film from like a decade ago, I think it came out in 2010, so over a decade ago, looks more like Galadriel than their $1 billion product. $1 billion. 120 million, maybe? I don't even know. That might even be high. The care is just not there. It's simply not. It's ridiculous and hilariously tragic. So, we have lines being repurposed, which is what started this whole thing. Literally, she walks into the tent where Halron is at, and she literally quotes, I kid you not, she takes Aragorn's line. Okay, so are you ready for this? The wound soured overnight, which means it's infected, which means he's septic, which means he's dying. This wound needs elvish medicine. Fellowship of the Ring after Frodo gets stabbed at Weathertop. This is beyond my skill to heal. He needs elvish medicine. They literally ripped this line from Fellowship of the Ring. There is no effort at play here. None whatsoever. Also, this is not cute. Like, why do these writers think that they're having, like, cute inter-character, interpersonal moments? It's not. They're not cute. The raft is such a huge, massive plot hole, plot armor that, quite frankly, it'd be more believable if the Sundering Sea opened up and swallowed them both whole, never to spit them out again. That's where we're at with this. Strength to the king! Strength to the king! He's over here gasping. Theo's looking up at her like, "Oh, I love you. You're so strong. You're so brave. You're so beautiful. You didn't abandon me after the mountain went boom." Yeah, also, Bronwyn, no, I take it back. This chick ditched her son after a volcanic eruption. I would die before I left the scene of a natural disaster if I thought there was even a breath of a chance. Like a snowflake, not a snowball, a snowflake's chance in hell that my child might be alive. I would die of starvation, exposure, and dehydration trying to find them. This bitch trotted off with her boyfriend to go join all the other Numenorians in the most pristine, ill-placed fallback camp I have ever seen. But she went back there and just ditched her son. Just ditched him. Didn't care. And now Theo's looking at Galadriel like he's gonna like break something off, or I don't know, like obsession. I'm not sure what this look is. It's like a combination of hatred and obsession. I'm just not really sure. The women in this show are pure evil. They are malice personified. Maleficent can step aside because, by golly, these women are taking her horns. Or her horned crown, or whatever. Disa is over here insulting Durin's father, King Durin, and is like, this mountain and all the mountains will be ours. And you're like, what? Why are we talking about overthrowing his father? Why are we talking about all the dwarven kingdoms? Like, every mountain is going to be theirs because they found Mithril, which is the product of a Cyril and a belt. Like, that origin story is so stupid. It actually may be dumber than Mount Doom. I'm not sure. It's pretty close. I'll have to to put them side by side, and we'll have to see which one is technically worse, objectively speaking, because you can measure this objectively. And yeah, like it just it would have made much more sense if Mithril came in the comet that struck with the freaking angel inside of it, but what do I know? I mean, if you're going to give an origin to a mineral, to a vein, like it's just like gold. It's okay, so what's the origin story for gold? What's the origin story for silver? What's the origin story for iron? Come on. Bronze. Let's go. Let me hear it. Well, it's mithril, so it is exceptional. Okay, but also they compare it to a dragon's hide. So why wouldn't it be a battle with like a dragon? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. But you know, what do I know? I'm just patently evil, didn't you know? No, that would actually be Bronwyn, who ditches her son after a massive natural disaster, volcanic eruption that literally scars the earth forever and changes the geography of every map in Middle Earth. And she just left his ass behind. Hope he could find his way to the camp. Nope. Nope. Mother of the frickin' year right there. Gosh, she irritates me so frickin' much. When she was giving that speech to the townspeople, I wanted to throw a tomato at her. Also, can I point out this is the only show where I do this frequently to see how much time I have left. I'll be like 20 minutes into the show and I'll be like, okay, how much time have I got? Oh my God, we're only 20 minutes in. Oh my God, we're only 22 minutes in. Oh my God, it's only been 27 minutes. Like, I have not had to do that with a show that I can recall in recent memory. This is the first one where every episode I'm checking to see how much time is left. Oh, Yerby Army, thank you for coming. Good night to you, love. Mwah. Thank you for the $2. Nope. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hang on, Boosh. 1 sec. Nick McCabe. We don't. We have no idea. Like, if again, if you do not have external knowledge of the IP outside of this show, you don't know what this stuff is. You have no idea. So we have an origin for Mithril, but not the Cimmerals. I'm gonna lose my mind. And also, it doesn't make sense. I saw this. Oh my gosh, I saw this on Twitter. I need to find it because it was so I think I bookmarked it. God, I hope I bookmarked it. Please, please tell me I bookmarked it. Probably not, because I'm not smart like that. Da, 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 da. Why do I have so much stuff bookmarked? Oh my word. Hold on. Let's see. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Pooh. I did not bookmark it. Which is really irritating. Because it was really good. It basically was stating how if you know, like Elrond was there, like the history of like myths are accepted because they get passed down by verbal language and stuff gets lost down through the generations. But elves are eternal. They were there when this stuff happened. So that negates the myth itself. Right? And And so because Elrond was there, because Elrond saw his father fight, because they were there with, you know, the Cimmerals and you know, these like the first age elves, when all of this stuff happened, they witnessed it. All right? So why would you call it a myth when you should have exactly what happened in your own memory? Like, it doesn't make any sense. These elves witness these things happening. So this is not stories. This is not bedtime stories being passed down. These aren't myths. These are memories for the elves. And Elrond, when Elrond tells the story in this series about his father, Elrond was there. He witnessed his father do all these incredible things. So they have individuals who were alive during these events who can give a first-hand account of what happened, which means them not knowing about Mithril is impossible, because you cannot have it be both history and a myth. It cannot be a first-hand account of actual events and a myth that was lost to time. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work. Elrond was literally a witness for his father's deeds. It's just mind-blowing that these writers and showrunners don't realize that. All right, Boosh, let's see what you got. Question: how did Galadriel, swimming alone in the ocean in a robe, get elven armor in Numenor, where they hate and haven't seen elves? Okay. They also have an elvish library that had not Morgoth's, that had Sauron's entire backup plan. They had that sitting there for centuries. So quite frankly, Boosh, I could not tell you, because I do not know, because nothing in this show makes sense. Like, it doesn't even make a little bit of sense. And when you criticize it, people come up with one of two excuses. You're just a misogynist bigot who doesn't appreciate art, and you're going to hate this no matter what because of the diverse casting, you misogynist or racist. Or number two, it's fantasy. It's not real. Let it go. It doesn't matter. Oh, I can't wait for a reboot of the Harry Potter series where they absolutely butcher the ever-loving bejesus out of it. And then I can listen to all these Gen Zers whine, moan, groan, and complain about how this isn't the real Harry Potter. Harry didn't do that. Harry would never do that. Hermione never did this. Hermione never said that. This wouldn't happen. Well, it did, though. It's right in front of you. This is just an adaptation for modern times. Like, it blows my mind. It blows my mind that these people say this stuff about these different IPs that they don't actually care about, but they claim that they do because they are corporate consumerists who just want that sweet, sweet access. So I couldn't tell you. And honestly, it doesn't even look elven to me. It looks Numenorian in smithing to me. It's so poorly crafted. It's so dull, which honestly, I suppose it could be elvish made, because everything we've seen thus far is like bathrobes and rubber and just, oh yeah, there's the friend that died. The one like first of all, this is either not Morphid Clark or her armor doesn't fit her properly. Like, take care of the plank in your own eye there, friggin' Galadriel. Utterly shameful. Just stupid. They should have just made their own IP and just done their own thing rather than attempting to regurgitate something that has names of Tolkien's characters in it or on it. I'm just... Ugh. Also, this scene, her face never changes. God, I hate it all. A fresh start. Yeah, there's just this Numenorian colony by the mouth of Anduin. Oh, you know, there's just some place that they could have gone to this entire time, but they decided to just chill. Let's just Netflix and chill right here where we can be massacred and enslaved. I have so many questions. If you're blind and you don't want anybody to know it, why are you wrapping a bandana around your eyeballs? Also, this is ineffective. Do you see the gapping right here? Yeah. If this is for medicinal purposes, what is supposed to happen so that the muscles can hopefully repair, can self-repair for the most part, you put the medicine into the wrap itself, you lay it across the eyes, and then you make sure that it's in complete darkness so that the eyes can heal without the strain of trying to absorb light. That's not what's happening. Like, she literally just wrapped a bandana around her eyeballs. I mean, it's really reminiscent of, like, okay, this is gonna be in my this is in my like my review. But like, I want to show it to you guys right now, and you tell me that Amazon isn't ripping stuff off from other IPs. Like, I freaking dare you. Like, she has a red jacket and a blue wrap, and she's got a blue jacket and a red wrap. Like, guys. Oh, just look. You just need to look. Just take off the blindfold and look. Ah. I I'm just this cracks me up. Like, I have it in my review. Oh my god, I'm so tired. I'm like punch drunk right now. It's sad is what it is. But also I can't help but laugh because when you're talking about stuff like this, when your biggest brag is the amount of money that you spent on this IP, you better make it freaking worth it. Like, this better be the most spectacular thing to ever hit the small screen. Oh my gosh, the freaking Harfoots. These guys are evil. You're never going to change my mind about that. They are 100% evil. And you note that it's for Harfoots, much like it was for hobbits. Except of course there's only one man, and he's diverse casting. The rest are women. One of them's really old too, so we get age diversity in there. Not that Lenny Henry's isn't old, but this is, I mean, it's not, for being masters of the sea, it's not as impressive as it should be, especially with the amount of wealth and knowledge and power that Numenorians have. This scene irritates the piss out of me. Where is that ship coming from? because that's not where the ships landed. And you can't get to the river from that encampment. It's a straight drop. So, like, were these things just chilling in the river waiting? That's doesn't make any sense. Like, strategically, it makes no sense. Oh gosh. Ah, Bronwyn, you're so brave. You're so stunning. You're such a good healer. You're a terrible mother and a horrible human being. Like, this show, if it was it now makes sense after watching almost 8 hours of footage. I think we may have even crested 8 hours. How long is this episode? An hour and 11 minutes. And like on average, they've been between like an hour and 5 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes. So we are pushing up against 8 hours of storytelling and footage, and we have not like, these 7 episodes could have been condensed into 1.5. That is how sad, slow, and pathetic this show is, and how horribly just unself-aware it is. I can't think of any other way to put it. But like, so, and also, how did Blind Lady get down there? Like, this river is a good distance away. It's not like, oh, we hop down this hill and then we're there. Like, what is going on? How did she get down there? Where was this ship? And did they just stand there the whole time while the blind lady walked away with her sniffling captain, got down to the ships, and so they just stood there and waited? Is that what happened? And then Bronwyn comes up. I've helped all the injured and all the sick. We can travel now. Except for our king. What? What about your king? Has no one told you? Peligreer, they called it. They say it's fresh land. Okay, so are they trying to make the Southlanders the ancestors of the Rohirrim? That doesn't make any sense. They're not horse masters. They're farmers and traders. Because, oh god, because the faithful from Numenor, the Numenorians, are the ancestors of the Dunedain, the line of kings. So, where are these guys going? Like, are they literally about to become Rohan? I'm gonna lose my ever loving mind. I swear on all that is holy. These writers need to be beaten over the head with a first edition copy. No, you know what? They're not good enough for a first edition copy. And a poorly illustrated 5th edition of The Lord of the Rings needs to beat these people over the head. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I know Peligreer isn't Rohan, but like, what are the Southlanders supposed? You see where I'm trying to go, Nick? Like, Amazon, follow my logic with me. Like, follow my logic, because I'm attempting to follow Amazon's logic. So hear me out. Obviously, they're men, so they can't be the hobbits, right? Now, that leaves a couple of things. They could be, because Amazon is trying desperately to tie their characters, you can't even call them communities, but they're trying to desperately insert their characters as the ancestors of Jackson's trilogy of ancestors, Jackson's trilogy characters' ancestors, right? They are desperately trying to do that, okay? Which has me wondering what is. Because, guys, allegedly, we still have 4 seasons left of this show because Amazon signed a contract for 5. Now, Pelargir is a port in Gondor, but it's a Numenorian port. But they're saying that it's abandoned. Like, she's saying, here, let me, oh, gosh darn it. Where will you go? I gotta pause it because Amazon's gonna get mad. Old Numenorian colony by the mouth of the Anduin, right? So we're talking about the river. So are the Southlanders gonna like become the Numenor? Like, you see what I'm saying, Nick? It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm trying to figure out, are they going to Pelargir to get misplaced by the Numenorians to then become the Rohirrim? Like, you see where I'm going, Nick? I'm trying to figure out. It does the Southlanders moving or like going to Pelargir does not. First of all, that is an Easter egg. That's an Easter egg for people again with external knowledge of the lore. So yeah, exactly, Arcus. Like this, it can't be an old Numenorian colony because Numenor has not fallen yet. This was a port set up by the faithful, that would be the ancestors to the Dunedain. So it technically shouldn't exist yet because the fall hasn't happened. And so are these guys going to Pelargir and then they're going to get misplaced by the Numenorians who are going to be like, this is our port, you have to leave, and then they become the Rohirrim? Like, I don't understand what is going on here. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. See, do you see where I'm trying to go? I'm trying to find the logic here, and it's just absent because again, they condense the timeline, and it nothing lines up. Numenor hasn't fallen, so Pelargir cannot exist. Yes, exactly. I have the Silmarillion in front of me. Pelargir is built and becomes the chief haven for the faithful Numenorians, who eventually become the ancestors. Like, that line becomes the Dunedain, right? Because Numenorians lived for hundreds of years, but it still wasn't enough. The whole reason for the fall of Numenor was pride and the obsession with immortality and wanting what they could not have, what they had been forbidden from. Like, they don't get eternal life. That isn't what was decided. That is not the fate of man. And Numenorians, for all their gifts and all their glory, are still men. And because the fall has not happened, Pelargir cannot exist yet. So how are they going to some place that doesn't exist? And why are they going there if it's a Numenorian port? That they would eventually flee and they'd go further north up to Gilgalad's realm. Like, this is why you can't condense timelines like this. This stuff can't happen simultaneously. Pelargir cannot be an old Numenorian settlement because Numenor hasn't fallen yet and the faithful have not. God, I hope they don't get 5 seasons. I hope that season 2 gets canceled, quite frankly. Yep. It was Ar-Pharazôn, not Tarmiriel. Yep. Nope, absolutely no logic whatsoever. Okay. That's another thing that the show got horribly wrong. The Numenorians didn't actually ban the elves from Numenor, the Numenorians were banned from going to the vat. Like, the whole reason. All right, we're just gonna do. I'm gonna flip open my Silmarillion copy really quick. By the way, Elendil is the faithful, but just gonna let it go. All right. 9 ships there were, 4 for Elendil, and for Isildur 3, and for Anarion 2, and they fled before the black gale out of the twilight of doom into the darkness of the world. And the deeps rose beneath them in towering anger, and waves like unto mountains moving with great caps of writhing snow bore them up amid the wreckage of the clouds, and after many days cast them away upon the shores of Middle Earth. And all the coasts and seaward regions of the western world suffered great change and ruin in that time, for the seas invaded the lands, and shores foundered, and ancient isles were drowned, and new isles were uplifted, and hills crumbled, and rivers were turned into strange courses. Sauron himself was filled with great fear at the wrath of the Valar, and the doom that Eru laid upon sea and land. It was greater far than aught he had looked for, hoping only for the death of the Numenorians and the defeat of their proud king. And Sauron, sitting in his black seat in the midst of the temple, had laughed when he heard the trumpets of Ar-Pharazôn sounding for battle. And again he laughed when he heard the thunder of the storm. And a third time even he laughed at his own thought, thinking that he would do now what he would do now in the world, being rid of the Edain forever. He was taken in the midst of his mirth, and his seat in his temple fell into the abyss. So the fall of Numenor is the reason that Sauron could not go into his ethereal, beautiful, deceptive form anymore, because that form was lost to the sea in the temple that Ar-Pharazôn and the Numenorians built at the behest of Sauron, who deceived them, and it became this place of like sacrifice and evil. It was horrific what occurred there. And Sauron laughed when they did this because they were the masters of their own demise. It's just it doesn't make any sense. And then here we go. Where's that? Okay. Then Manwë upon the mountain called upon Iluvatar, and for that time the Valar laid down their government of Arda. But Iluvatar showed forth his power, and he changed the fashion of the world. And a great chasm opened in the sea between Numenor and the deathless lands, and the waters flowed down into it. And the noise and smoke of the cataracts went up to heaven, and the world was shaken. And all the fleets of the Numenorians were drawn down into the abyss, and they were drowned and swallowed up forever. But Ar-Pharazôn, the king, and the mortal warriors that had set foot upon the land of Aman were buried under falling hills. There it is said that they lie imprisoned in the cave of the forgotten until the last battle and the day of doom. But the land of Aman and Erisei of the Eldar were taken away and removed beyond the reach of men forever. And Andor, the land of gift, Numenor of the kings, Elena of the Star of Arendelle, was utterly destroyed. For it was nigh to the east of the great rift, and its foundations were overturned. And it fell and went down into darkness, and is no more. And there is not now upon earth any place abiding where the memory of a time without evil is preserved. For Iluvatar cast back the great seas west of Middle Earth, and the empty lands east of it, and new lands and new seas were made, and the world was diminished, for Valinor and Erisei were taken from it into the realm of hidden things. In an hour unlooked for by men this doom befell, on the 39th day since the passing of the fleets. Then suddenly fire burst from the metal Tamara, and there came a mighty wind, and a tumult of the earth, and the sky reeled, and the hills slid, and Numenor went down into the sea, with all its children, and its wives, and its maidens, and its ladies proud, all its gardens, and halls, and towers, its tombs, and its riches, and its jewels, and its webs, and its things painted and carven, and its laughter and its mirth and its music, its wisdom and its lore. They vanished forever. And last of all, the mounting wave, green and cold, plumed with foam, climbing over the land, took to its bosom Tarmiriel the queen, fairer than silver or ivory or pearls. Too late she strove to ascend to steep the ways of the Melitamar into the holy place, for the waters overtook her, and her cry was lost in the roaring wind. That is what happens. It is not until the faith, this is right before this is when the faithful are fleeing. So that is straight out. That's straight out of the Silmarillion. The fall of Numenor. It's allergies, Boosh. I'm sorry. Hang on. Is that better? I don't know. But that's straight out of the Silmarillion. Right out of the fall of Numenor. It's in black and white. Pelagrir does not exist yet because the faithful have not been persecuted. I mean, we even see in the first episode, they still have the library. Tarmiriel is queen regent. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It really, truly doesn't make any sense because if the faithful have not fled because the corruption of the throne has not occurred, then why would the city exist at this point in time? Answer, it wouldn't. Like, that's really just the long and short of it. Sorry, I literally just broke out the Silmarillion. Those are Tolkien's words, not mine. I don't know what book. I can tell they didn't read it. It's utterly insane. It's utterly ridiculous. Also, why did they give Disa Sith eyes? Like, look at that. Those are not the eyes of a sane person. Those are the eyes of someone who has been possessed. I'm just utterly blown away at how bad this is. $1 billion allegedly went into this IP. It doesn't reflect in the story, it doesn't reflect in the writing, it doesn't reflect in the sets pieces, it doesn't reflect in the characterization, in the costumes, in the details, none of it. This looks like someone who was given, it's like someone was written a blank check for $1 billion and they said, whatever you don't use, you get to keep. So they tried to make this show for like they tried to make this show for $1 so that they could have $999,999,999 to themselves. That's what this looks like. It's just utterly baffling. I'll tell you what, Arcasul, you and I can definitely do a stream later. I'm going to wrap up because I didn't want to go past 2 hours and I'm already at 2:15. But guys, I'm so angry. They've crapped on Galadriel. They blatantly insulted Celeborn. They mocked him and his death and his decision to go fight Morgoth and orcs. Yeah, I can roll my R's too. But Galadriel, ridiculous. This whole thing is a joke. I would actually believe that this show is just an expensive parody rather than an attempt at an adaptation. And I have said it once and I will say it again. Amazon cannot destroy Lord of the Rings. It is bigger than Amazon will ever be. Absolutely bigger than Amazon will ever be. It has survived countless poor adaptations and interpretations, and it will survive this one. Amazon cannot touch the Lord of the Rings. All Amazon has done is destroyed their chance at having a successful adaptation of a beloved IP that has been accessible and enjoyed by tens of millions of peoples in dozens of countries in over 30 languages for more than half a century. That's it. That's all. There is no more. It is that simple. Amazon blew their chance. And that's really all she wrote. I mean, The Lord of the Rings is timeless for a reason. This is modern, self aggrandizing tripe. It's powerless. Like, these rings have no power. So, to all of you, I hope that you have an excellent evening or day, depending on where you're at in the world. Thank you for stopping by. It means the world to me. I know that there wasn't a whole lot of notice for this one. I will be trying to go back to I don't know for certain, but I am pretty confident when I say that Nostalgic Nirvana should be back but this Thursday, and we'll stick with it from here on out. So Nostalgic Nirvana should be back at its regularly scheduled time on its normal day here into the foreseeable future. And try and get back into the swing of things. I'm going to be spending a lot of time at home. So for certain things, but I'm going to be kind of busy, so it'll probably be a little intermittent, but we'll see what we can do. But I digress. It's been a fantastic evening. Thank you so much for being here. It really truly does mean the world to me. Thank you for all the love, all the support, the kind words, the chat. You guys, as always, incredible, amazing. Oh, am I your hero, DJ Direwolf? Thank you for the $3 super sticker. That's so sweet. I adore you. Thank you so much. Everybody, have an excellent night. Thank you so much. It's truly humbling, and it warms my heart to know that you're all here. God bless, Godspeed, and much love to all. Good night.